Strange to be saying this of a show about high school kids, but I really don't think there's anything else on TV right now, or even in the past few years, that struck quite as deep or as personal a chord with me as Euphoria. And the first I remember really falling in love with the show, after maybe Nate's growing up segment, is Kat's backstory at the beginning of episode 3. It's so cute, the way she retreats into this rich fantasy life to get away from the drudgery of her school, and it really shows off how clever Euphoria's editing can be. Kat Hernandez wound up being the character whose story I most, vibed with, and like a lot of people, I was pretty bummed to hear Barbie Ferreira won't be returning for the 3rd season, though it would also be wrong to say that the character didn't have a complete story arc, which we'll get into in a little bit. I connected with Kat on a few levels, the first and most obvious probably being the fanfic thing, which I have to say that episode captures really well, the whole horny teenage nerd girl amateur writing culture of something like AO3 or fanfiction.net circa the mid-20-teens. My earliest forays into content creation on this platform were, well, not fanfiction, but let's just say it was fanfiction adjacent. I can remember sitting in my room eating Twizzlers and watching True Blood while I'd write smutty trash and talk to my friends online. I remember what it was like to have an audience of sorts at a young age who see you in a way that's utterly at odds with the way you see yourself, and the fear of those two lives coming together. But what I think really connected me to the character, like on the most visceral, emotional level, especially in those first few episodes, was the way her sense of self-worth is so tied with her weight and how others perceive her because of it. Look, I don't like to talk about myself too much in these videos, but body image has been a journey for me as well. I was over 300 pounds in my mid-20s. I lost about 130 between 2017 and 2018, gained like 60 back the first year of the pandemic, and I've lost another 40 or 50 since then. My weight has yo-yoed a lot since I was Kat's age, and I've definitely developed a lot of mental hang-ups about my body because of it. And I'm happier now than I was when I was real heavy, but a lot of that is because people just treat you differently when you're overweight. I've had on and off agoraphobia for a lot of my life, stayed in abusive relationships because I didn't think I deserved better. I still don't show myself very much in these videos because I have a lot of anxiety about being seen or observed or just like taking up public space, which I realize is a little strange for someone trying to make a career on YouTube, but there we are. Kat wearing all these layers and baggy clothes to cover up her body, I did that when I was in school, even in the summer, even in gym class. Her fear of rejection if her online friends saw what she really looks like, I remember that too. She dresses down in the first few episodes, trying to blend in with the background in almost polar opposite to the girls like Maddie and Jules that she's friends with, but she's still made the subject of negative attention just for existing in her shape. Because of the bullying and social rejection she experiences, Kat spends more time inside on solitary activities like watching TV and writing, and soon develops a whole other persona online where she's creatively and even sexually thriving in a way she doesn't think is possible in real life, believing her fans and online friends would reject her if they saw what she really looks like. Things change the night of McKay's party when she loses her virginity to this McLovin-looking kid, and well, it's not really clear to what degree the twins were involved. She has sex with this guy, we see that in the video, but then Roy is supposedly the one who posts it online and circulates it, and then Troy is who she confronts and sort of threatens with legal exposure. He's the one who helps her do damage control and winds up buying her a bunch of clothes and stuff at the end of the next episode. I think whatever happened was meant to be a little vague, but the whole incident would have two major effects on Kat. First, it teaches her to commodify her sexuality, which we'll come back to in a moment. But the second change comes with the revelation, reading the comments on her video, that people are attracted to her. She'd always feared people would be horrified if they saw her in person, but now they've seen her, all of her, fully exposed, and they do find her sexy. This is the thing. Men, well, people really, but men in particular are sexually attracted to fat women. Not all men. Everyone has their own preferences, and these preferences are influenced by a lot of factors, both external and internal, but in the same way there are many people attracted to tall women and short women and trans women and cis women and muscular women and skinny women. There are plenty of men who are very much into women with Kat's body type.
Fat girls give the best head.
I don't usually come that fast. That was amazing.
This really shouldn't be a controversial statement, but somehow it is. You see it happen over and over again, where a picture of some clearly gorgeous plus-sized model will be floating around social media, and it will just get the most deranged pushback and abuse from people insisting that her existence as a model violates some universal law of attractiveness that, I'm sorry, just does not exist. And if you're not into women with that body type, that's fine, even if not the most polite thing to air publicly, just because there are some people who are affected enough by excess weight that it's almost like a kind of disability, and they don't need to deal with your abuse on top of everything else. But pretending that women who look like Barbie Ferreira don't objectively get a lot of attention from men is just gonna make you look foolish and borderline disconnected from reality. She's literally a model. Okay, companies pay her money to take pictures of her wearing their clothes so other people will see those pictures, then buy the clothes because they think they'll look as good as she does wearing them. Which gets onto an important point the show makes, that a person's ability to look attractive is heavily dependent not only on having the time and financial freedom to work on yourself, but on general access to things like clothing and fashion. Kat's newfound confidence comes not only through the cam shows she starts putting on after her tape leaks, but from the new wardrobe she's able to buy with that income. She reinvents herself, changing not just her style, but concocting a whole new persona centered around the sexual affirmation and confidence she gains doing cam shows for admittedly mostly fetishists, but the people she attracts in real life are not. And now she has the confidence to do something like go to the carnival with Ethan, where before, though she would meet men online, she wouldn't take it any farther than that.
Please, Kat, remind me again how many guys you fucked, and oh yeah, catfishing, that don't count.
Bitch, this isn't the 80s. You need to catch a dick.
It seems like things are going really well with Ethan, and he's so clearly into her, but because of the way she's been conditioned to see herself, Kat can't escape the mentality that she's not attractive. And when she sees Ethan talking to another girl, she gets scared and ditches him to avoid the pain of what she thinks will be his inevitable rejection. The night of the carnival marks a turning point for most major stories in the first season, and for Kat, this would kick off the beginning of her I think the Twitter terminology would be slut arc. She runs away from what was actually a fairly innocent conversation between Ethan and his sister's co-worker to go do what we all do when our confidence has taken a hit and we need to feel better about ourselves, and get railed by a carny. Specifically one who, before attaining his final form, had been a popular fuckboy of the senior class when she'd been an incoming freshman.
So, did you come?
No.
By hooking up with, that guy, and then denying him the affirmation he was looking for by refusing to praise his performance, she's taking back a kind of psychological control from the social hierarchy that's made her feel less than since she was 11. Or at least it feels that way at first. This would be the start of a pattern in which Kat seeks what's depicted as a very cheap form of validation through random sexual encounters that both decenter her own physical needs and deliberately eschew emotional intimacy.
What about you?
About me?
You look like you're creative or something. I don't know, you know?
Creative.
Yeah. I don't know, just like the way you dress and stuff. I just thought you might be an artist or something.
Look, if you want to hook up, we can hook up.
I wasn't expecting that.
Really?
I was just making conversation.
I mean, that's my point. You don't really have to.
Maddie wasn't doing well. Over the course of the last 5 days, Maddie had sent Nate a total of 273 text messages, none of which he answered.
Dad, I need to come over, like, right now.
I'm not home.
What? Where are you?
With a friend.
Who?
It doesn't really matter. I'm just like, in the middle of something. Can I call you back later?
Can you blow them up, please? I really need you right now.
I can't. I gotta go. Sorry about that.
All good. So like... Seriously, that was like one of the best blowjobs I've ever had.
She blows off her best friend to suck off some random mall rat, then just gets out of the car and walks away without, getting anything for herself out of the encounter. Kat feels empowered by this moment, and the show might even present it that way a little bit with the musical walk-off, but this is also the first we start to see what she's doing as a little bit self-destructive, hurting the healthy relationships in her life for the brief high of controlling these random sexual encounters. When Ethan goes down on her the night of the Halloween party, it's the first time we see somebody else focus on her pleasure, and once again she gets scared and ghosts him the first chance she gets, picking up Cassie's leavings instead and sleeping with Daniel, the boy who dumped her after her weight gain. Maybe it was the thrill of finally getting together with her childhood love, or maybe the sex was just better because Ethan had primed the pump, so to speak, or maybe she was just drunk, but for whatever reason, Kat breaks pattern this time. She opens up a little bit, and in doing so lets herself be vulnerable in a way she hadn't since the carnival. She confesses how much Daniel had meant to her when they were kids, and she kind of winds up getting burned a little because he doesn't even remember that they dated.
It's funny, I always thought I was gonna lose my virginity to you.
You're a virgin?
No, I mean when we were younger, when we dated.
We dated?
Yeah, in 6th grade.
You and me?
Yeah, for like 5 months.
Oh. I literally have no recollection of that.
She came into this wanting to reclaim something she felt she'd lost when they were children and he broke up with her. Whether that was her power or a little piece of that first love they shared, it doesn't matter because she doesn't get either. And I think it was this, combined with a particularly creepy encounter she'd had with a client in the previous episode, that made Kat start to realize that she's being taken advantage of in some of these encounters. Euphoria makes a lot of parallels between Kat and Jules, especially during that first season. The way both girls seek validation through hookups with random men, the way they draw the attention of predators and fetishists, how they're both filmed without their consent in that first episode, and how both ultimately decide they get more out of real emotional intimacy than purely sexual encounters that only affirm their desirability. Though, with Kat, it's not the intimacy we might have expected.
Kat, what the fuck is your problem? You're being a bad friend now. You were a bad friend to me, and this whole new personality is seriously unlikable. I don't know about everyone else, but I miss the old Kat. You know, the one who had a sense of humor and wasn't a fucking cunt?
Damn.
After being chewed out by Maddie and then seeing her friends and their partners at prom night experiencing all the highs and lows that come with love, Kat decides to give things a chance with Ethan. She apologizes for blowing him off and opts for happiness, deciding she does deserve the nice guy after all. Happily ever after, right? Well, not quite. In Season 2, everything is going perfectly for Kat on paper. Her friendships are thriving, she has an adoring partner who all of her girlfriends are jealous of, she has everything society is telling her should make her happy. But she isn't. She lies to her friends about how satisfying her love life is, has anxiety attacks where all these conflicting voices in her head manifest and scream at her, and maybe one of the funniest scenes for the character has this elaborate fantasy in which Ethan is killed by a barbarian warrior who then strips off his loincloth, flips her over, and fucks the shit out of her right over Ethan's dead body.
He was the love of my life.
Mais le fuck one.
No, not totally.
Mais vos nageho, yo curso.
Kat doesn't have as much screen time in the second season as the first. There were reports circulating that her part was minimized due to on-set conflicts between the actor and showrunner Sam Levinson, but Barbie Ferreira herself has said these are rumors and mostly exaggerated. Strangely enough, her Wikipedia page says that she left due to disagreements with Levinson, but then the article being cited actually details her denying those precise allegations, so that's a little weird. Eventually, Kat does break up with Ethan, or rather, she starts to, and then deflects until he finally gets fed up and walks out on her, but the point is she leaves the relationship. I've seen people accuse the second season of walking back some of her character growth over this, but I don't think that's fair. Last season, she didn't think she deserved the nice guy. Now, her problem is just that she doesn't want him. On paper, there's nothing wrong with Ethan. She even tries to do a pro and con list and can't think of any cons, but the relationship just isn't making her happy. And that's the other thing a lot of people don't consider. Fat people are allowed to be choosy. Everyone is attracted to different things, and more than anything else, euphoria validates experience. Some people spend their entire lives not knowing what they need, and taking that time to experiment and figure it out is important. Euphoria is not the first show that's made me think introspectively about the concept of gender, but it's definitely been a watershed series for my adult life. It's made me think a lot about femininity, what that is, and the characteristics we associate with acceptable femininity. A lot of trans women are also expected to settle for fetishists or whatever passable person they land on, even though in reality there are plenty of heterosexual men very much attracted to trans girls. I've heard a lot of trans femme people describe feeling outsized or out of place or under-catered to by the fashion industry. Trans people wind up engaging in the kind of sex work Kat does in higher proportion than cis people, and we even see some of the same faces pushing back against public visibility for fat women as for trans women. And it's strange because it seems like so many of the physical characteristics that fat women are shamed for represent the same things trans women are attacked for supposedly not having. I won't generalize because people take hormones for a lot of different reasons, including some cisgendered people, but one of the effects some trans women are hoping for when they take estrogen, those who choose to take estrogen, is the redistribution of fat deposits to your breasts, yeah, but also your thighs, your hips, your gluteus region, even your upper arms, because society wants women to have fat in these areas but not in others, and not too much. It's like women are allowed to pass in society based on a lot of different things, but mostly when they're deemed fuckable by men.
I feel like I've framed my entire womanhood around men, when, like, in reality, I'm no longer interested in men. Like, philosophically. Like what men want.
And what men want is influenced by a lot of different external factors, not all of which are evolutionary, and many of which are manufactured for commercial purposes. One would think, under patriarchy, women who are already being oppressed one way wouldn't be as eager as men to throw women being oppressed another way under the same bus, but throwing each other under the bus might just be something built into human nature, because it really seems like women are just as enthusiastic to socially enforced patriarchal beauty standards as men. There is a certain type of person you see again and again who will embrace feminism in all the ways it uplifts them, but then you get them alone and they'll talk about body positivity like a fat girl stole her boyfriend. Call it indoctrination by patriarchy, call it feminine envy, call it basic simian behavior, where the most efficient way to solidify yourself as part of the in-group is by identifying and marginalizing an out-group. Call it whatever, but it's something we all have inside of us. And I say women because that's what these characters are, but it's important to remember that issues like fat phobia and transphobia are problems for men and non-binary people as well. They just take different forms. Not all fat girls look like Barbie Ferreira, just like not all trans girls look like Hunter Schafer, not all cis guys look like Jacob Elordi, not all skinny women look like Zendaya, whose name I apparently mispronounced in my previous video, my bad. But I think all body types have people out there who are attracted to them, and more to the point, everyone deserves dignity. Whatever your own preferences are, there is something deeply wrong with a person who spends their limited time on this earth trying to body shame strangers on the internet. I've heard people express concern that the body positivity movement encourages people to be unhealthy, and I don't know, there might be a little bit of truth to that, but more often than not, I've found it's just an excuse to safely express derision for a body type you don't like. I really don't engage much with body positivity as a movement, you know? So much of it seems like just the basic good manners you learned when you were 12, but as somebody who has lost and gained and lost hundreds of pounds pretty much just through diet and exercise, I can say that what really helped me improve was being comfortable enough participating in society that I could go out to the gym night after night. And I'm happier now than I was before, but I wasn't less valuable a person then, and it's taken me a long time to realize that. I've heard the health thing as a reason body positivity bad from pack-a-day smokers and heavy drinkers, from anti-vaxxers, and from skinny people who live off fast food and gas station snacks. It's just a dog whistle, and it's such bullshit. Nobody improves because you shame them. A lot of people get kinda triggered by how childish the breakup scene between Kat and Ethan is, and I think miss the actual character growth that's happening. When we first come in, Kat's on the phone with Maddie, who's plotting her revenge against Nate, and she's kind of ignoring Ethan to talk to her friend. This is a clear parallel to that scene we showed earlier, where Maddie is begging her to talk about Nate, but Kat ignores her to hang out with a guy. Watching through the second season of the show is when you start to see a lot of these dual or parallel scenes that showcase the positive or negative growth of a character. Take the scene in episode 5 where Rue is masturbating in bed thinking about Jules when she's clean, juxtaposed against the scene when Jules is actually going down on her in season 2, but Rue can't feel anything because she's so high. In this case, the character growth has gone in a more positive direction. Ethan might not feel that way, granted, but if you look at what was happening before, Kat has gone from eschewing intimacy to prioritizing it. Not romantic intimacy, which I know is what a lot of her fans from the first season were hoping for, but there are a lot of different types of love, and they all bring different things into our lives. Thank you for watching, and happy Valentine's Day.
I am not seeking approval. I'm number one, I tell bitches what to do. He heard I'm Creole, he think I know voodoo. Bitch, I will twist your ass up like a noodle. Oh, you a copy of me, you a doodle. Bitches is flocking to me like I'm Kodak. All of my bitches is yellow, they vote it. How about the whip at the light and they throw that? Cocky as fucking the mouth with your daddy. He kissing the ground that I walk on. Cocky as fucking the pick with your nigga. He bought everything.